Νομίζω μπορούμε να αρχίσουμε. Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα. Σας ευχαριστούμε όλους για την σημερινή σας παρουσία. Είναι η πρώτη μέρα της έκθεσης, έχουμε τα εγγένεια σε λίγες ώρες. Είναι η πρώτη φορά που εμείς οι Έλληνες εκδότες κάνουμε μια τέτοια εκδήλωση, τα round tables όπως τα λέμε. Σας ευχαριστούμε όλους για τη χαρά και τη τιμή που μας δίνετε με την παρουσία σας σήμερα εδώ. Επιτρέψτε μου, γιατί έχουμε πολλούς ξένους καλεσμένους να τους τιμήσουμε, επιτρέψτε μου να μιλήσω στα αγγλικά και υπάρχει ταυτόχρονη μετάφραση όποιος θέλει στα ελληνικά. Η συζήτηση κυρίως θα γίνει στα αγγλικά και θα έχουμε μετά την ευκαιρία να υπάρξει ταυτόχρονη μετάφραση. Thank you all for coming again, in English this time. We thank our dear guests, who they come from different places. As I said, today we initiate for the first time in Greece the round tables, the publishers' round tables. It's a professional meeting, it's a series of meetings. And we do not always have a specific agenda, and we avoid issues of practical nature that usually we have in these panels. Rather, we want to foster some general discussions about the profession of publisher and the future of publishing in general. We are privileged today to have with us Albert Mann, Director of the Federation of European Publishers, Christina Kramer, Deputy Director for European and International Affairs at the German Booksellers and Publishers Association, Svetlo Zab, I always misspell it, sorry, Svetlo, better well known, Zelev, Director of the National Book Center of Bulgaria, and George Paschalidis, Publisher, member of the board and treasurer of ΣΕΒΑ, which is the Greek association mostly involved in academic scientific publishing. Thank you all. May I start? First of all, the topic. The topic is revisiting the role of Publishers Association and National Book Center. This is a hot topic in Greece, especially the last semester. And let me start with a few questions, and then we can share opinions and let's try and make it a discussion. Let me ask with you, Anna. You've been director at FEP for how many years?
Too many to count.
Too many to count, and so you've seen all kinds of associations, and actually FEP, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably the biggest such organization in the world, like at the regional level. I mean, in Europe, book is the biggest cultural industry.
Yes. So we are at the moment 29 members, plus we have invited the Ukrainian Publishers and Bookseller Association to be a guest to FEP, and we hope to welcome them very soon. So basically, we could be 30. We're missing a couple of countries, and I would say that our role and the role of our member association has changed quite dramatically over the years. Just because when I started, so I say a number of years ago, no one was questioning the role of publishers. Internet was in its infancy. Whenever people were using content, for example in school, they were making photocopy, it was burdensome, it was not, and teachers didn't consider that they were doing their own material, etc., etc. And little by little, the role of publishers has been questioned, And one of our role as publisher association, as umbrella organization like FEP, I think, is to really explain before we can say anything technical, is that publishers are truly, I mean, authors, it's the obvious, but publishers are essential part of the ecosystem of a book. And that you need someone who chooses, you need someone who certifies, you need someone who does all that work. And in that, the association who are not trying to explain, I think, are not doing the right job.
I mean, that would be my next question, which you kind of answered. And this is a question we receive, me, George, and other colleagues in Greece. Do we need association? Why do I need to be a member in association? Because, I mean, you have different stakeholders in the book industry, and associations.
Well, I mean, we need to be, I will let Christina speak about the national level, which I know less, but at European level, we need interlocutors. And if I have the impression that a Greek member of parliament or the Greek government in the European Council is making a proposal which I believe is not fitting for the book sector, I cannot go and wait for the Thessaloniki book fair and say, what are the Greek publishers willing to listen to me and help me? I need to have association, ideally one. I know it's not as simple in Greece, but that's okay. I think you found a system that works.
This is a question I will not do. It's too difficult. It's a saga.
But I think publisher, it's not their. I mean, the publisher is not their job. I know that some of them volunteer to work in organization and to represent, and it's really important that the people we are working with hear from publishers and not just from bureaucrats like us, but you need an organization who are able to consolidate position of as many publishers as possible and then pass them to the politician. When we say in Europe that we represent about 22 million in net publishers turnover and 80 billion in sales of books, people pause and they start listening to us. And I think that this is only possible because we have association gathering people. So, and if before publishers could almost do without because everybody thought publishers were wonderful people, nowadays, when the role is being challenged, the associations are more important than ever, I think.
So, talking about national associations, my question to Christina would be if over the years, first of all, let me say that that's my personal opinion, not my association's opinion, that from the little talking to different people in different fairs, the German association is really impressive the way they're organized. And I've seen some examples how they do. People don't know that, first of all, you're together with booksellers.
Yeah, booksellers, publishers, and wholesalers. So we have all the book chains. So we try to mediate opinions and to speak with one voice for the book sector in Germany. It's quite a challenge from time to time, but I mean it's so important to gather the voices and to speak, to be the one interlocutor towards the policymakers. It helps a lot to make your point. Yeah.
But I mean, okay, that is an important issue because in some countries, booksellers and publishers, they are in the same association. And we all know this is a debate, whether they should be in the same association or whether they serve different interests and they have different needs. But that's another story. Why I think it's very important for us, the German Association, as an example, because you do something more than lobby. You offer services. I know that the famous fair, the Buchmesse that we go every year, actually belongs to you or is it administered by you. You share the same distribution. This is very important for Greek publishers. I would like if you have a couple of words to tell us how they distribute their books. For example, Greek publishers, each publishing house, they have their own system, their own people, their own tracks, their own show. And you do many other things. You have a different company. You have many actually companies below you for metadata. It's an impressive umbrella association. That's why we need a bit of your feedback.
Yeah.
ISBN agency.
So maybe I start with the structure. So we are the association, and we are around 40 people working for the association for around 4,500 members. As you said, publishers, booksellers, wholesalers, antiquarians too. And beside this association, we have a holding, and under this roof, there is Frankfurt Book Fair that was founded by Börsenverein, and Börsenverein still hosts the Frankfurt Book Fair, but it's a company on its own, independent company. We have MBB. It's responsible for the ISBN numbers, but also for the books in print catalog and the journal, Börsenblatt. It's the main journal for the book sector in Germany. And we have a media campus. It's one of our institutions who train booksellers and publishers and for lifelong learning and webinars and so on. So this is the whole family. The services you speak about, speaking for Börsenverein as an association, of course we do the main, we have the main task like political work, lobbying, the typical lobbying work. It's all about copyright, fixed book prices, reduced VAT rates, but there are also topics like how do we get young professionals, for example, what can the sector do? So we think together, we talk to politicians about this. Then we have our cultural purpose. It's all about visibility of literature and publishing houses. We organize literary prizes, we do reading promotion, we do a lot in the field of freedom of expression. At the moment there's the week of the freedom of expression in Germany, for example, where there's a lot of things going on in publishing houses, but also in bookshops. And of course we do consultancy, so we offer consultancy for legal questions, but also business questions. And I think, but what we need is the members. It's the members' advice. And we need to make the working and the engagement for us attractive. So we need good offers that they come to our committees and to our interest groups and to really bring their expertise and their time. And an association depends on the members. It's all about the members and their input. And you asked about distribution, right?
I asked about distribution, and I don't know whether there is a study how different associations work. I know that sometimes it's a matter of timing and people, etc. But how in different countries associations work? I don't know if there is a study, but you told me about distribution, and I have shared this with some colleagues of mine, Greek colleagues, Georgian. They couldn't believe me how they do it because there is a capital of trust. You all work together, a common interest, and that's why especially distribution is interesting as a case study.
So it's not us as Börsenverein, but it's our members, the wholesalers, who have a really nice and very effective system in Germany. We have like 4 big wholesalers. They are geographically placed in Germany, and they cover 90% of the needs of a bookshop. And as a general rule, a book is in the bookshop within 25 hours. But there's also the just-in-time service. It's the overnight express service. When you order as a bookseller a book before 6 o'clock in the evening, they make sure that you will have it the next day in the morning. And this is possible because the wholesalers have a system of little camion, little trucks and the truck driver has the key to the bookshop, and they have little boxes, and so at night there are the wholesalers arriving and putting the box in the bookshop. And I mean, this helps a lot when we argue why should you go to a bookshop and not order on Amazon, because A, it's the same price, we have fixed book prices in Germany, and B, it's the same or even quicker to get your book in the bookshop. So, and also the online shops, I mean, nearly 90% of the booksellers have online shops, and they are directly connected to the white label shops of the wholesalers. So this is really, and it was, I mean, it was so important during Corona times that nearly all the booksellers could offer their books in an online shop, and that helped a lot. Yeah.
George, talking about best practices, yes. Do you think that booksellers, Greek booksellers, they would give their key to a third party? Can we suggest that?
I'm impressed.
Shall we do that?
There's no competition in Germany.
Competition, there are synergies.
No, but Christine said, this I think would never happen in Greece. Or would happen very difficult. Most probably is because the market is much more smaller than the German market. That's why. And I'm impressed how you are an association of booksellers and publishers. Something, there was a federation in Greece, publishers and booksellers. And we found out in the meantime, that there was a conflict between some decisions that publishers should take and booksellers should take. So it never worked. That's why it seems so strange for me in Federals and for other Greek colleagues. Now, what you asked me, sorry?
If we could suggest that, we have a hope.
I think
maybe
it's,
not now, a couple of years.
Difficult.
Okay.
I think it's difficult. Perhaps
I wonder whether it's a matter of size, what happens in other countries,
yes.
50 million people, or whether it's a matter of mentality or of good management. Please, let's make it work.
I think it's also a matter of tradition. There are a number of countries in Europe where the association is historically publishers and booksellers, and they have built their own construction around it. When there are other organizations which are you're by far not the exception. I think Bolsonaro is the exception in having both booksellers and publishers.
I just want to add that in Germany the booksellers were first. So it grew really with a long tradition. We will have our 200th anniversary in 2 years. So it's a bit, as Anne said, it's also the way it worked forever with us in Germany.
Perhaps this could work in Greece for smaller publishers, because big publishers has their own channels of distribution, so it's a matter of competition. We should never agree to do such a thing. But smaller or beginners publishers, I don't know what happens in Bulgaria. It's a similar market.
Let's give the...
Yeah, I'm here to speak about the National Book Centers, but anyway, I used to be a member of board of Bulgarian Book Association for many years, and in Bulgaria the same, we have book publishers and booksellers together in the association. And believe me, it works in the small market, because Bulgaria is a smaller market than Greece, and we have actually the same, controversies between us. But anyway, we work together on the name of the books and literature. And I think always united, it's better to struggle with the problems that we have, because for me, to spread literature and books is the most important thing for us. This is our way, and we are united on this topic. Start trying to seduce readers, and of course to have a better communication with the government, because always bigger is stronger.
Coming to you, Svetla, okay, in most countries you have the publishers, you have the government, and then you have these stakeholders, let's call them, like the associations, entities in between, mediating. One of these entities as a stakeholder is what we call the national book centers. Some countries have national book centers, like in France is the most well known. Some countries do not. Let me give you our Greek experience. We used to have one. It stopped during the financial crisis 2010, 11, I can't remember. And now the last 6 months, 1 year, there was a big debate to start a new one. And most publishers are in favor. Some publishers are skeptical. Why do we need a book center? So this is the question, do we need national book centers?
Yeah, the answer is directly yes, of course. I know the Greek National Book Center. It became a member of ENLIT, which is the international network of the national institutions supporting translations in Europe. We are 31 members now, from Nurwa in Norway till Greek Book Center via Bulgarian, of course. Just to explain, I bring one book from Bulgaria and one from here, from the book fair. This is Konstantinos Kavafis translation, just published in Bulgaria. And this is one of my favorite Bulgarian authors, Ludmil Stanev, who was published by Enastron, publishing house. This is what we do. Communicate between literatures, communicate between authors, make our best to popularize our national authors abroad. And, of course, when we speak about, as I said, literacy in our national level and about literature in international level, this is the point of the national book centers. There is a different kind of bodies, like agencies of books, like in Slovenia, very, very strong national body. Slovenia will be a guest of honor in Frankfurt Book Fair this year. And this is very important. It's not very usual in the Balkans. Actually, only in Slovenia, Bulgaria, and Greece there is book centers, and now in Romania too. But in Serbia, Croatia, or Albania, there is no actually book centers. I think that to use this tool, because the national book centers are tools, and there is a different ways to popularize literature, of course. First is supporting translations. Let's speak again about Balkans, because we are here. We don't have enough books circulated between us. There is, I don't know, maybe 10 books of Greek authors published in Bulgaria.
It's impressive. Anyway, Thessaloniki from Sofia, it's only like 2.5 hours away. We don't communicate. We have some guests from Albania here, distinguished, they can, it's impressive.
Yeah, and this is so important to first, absolutely to know each other, because literature is a very personal thing. We always, when I speak about literature, it's not just a business, it's a personal thing, very passionate. And we must know each other on every different level. As a publishers, I used to be a publisher for many years, as book centers, as authors, this literary conference, I'm absolutely impressed. More than 1,000 authors will be here in the Thessaloniki Book Fair, which is absolutely amazing. And so big names, for sure. And of course, there is 2 Bulgarian authors. Our biggest author, Georgi Gospodinov, tomorrow will have the presentation, and Teodora Dimova, again from Enastron, and Georgi Gospodinov from Ikaros Publishing. This is the National Book Centers as a kind of a contact points, and we can bring information and distribute information from outside to our national market, and from our national market and our authors abroad, to everyone who are interested to publish Bulgarian literature, let's say abroad, in Greece or everywhere. This is our point, after the supporting translations financially. And of course, residencies, working with translators, we never forget about translators because of them, all national literatures speak in different languages. This is one of the most important things, to work with translations as a publishers or national book centers.
A counter-argument, also here in the debate we had in Greece, because we still don't have a national book center, still different plans, is that, usually in most countries there is a directorate in the Ministry of Culture and they do these things, so why you need it? On the other hand, people say that because our association, they have to deal with different ministries. When it is for VAT, you go to the Ministry of Finance. When it is, culture, education. When it is with libraries, we go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs for municipalities. It's a bit complicated. A national book center is a hub where they do all these things with, between publishers and the government. Let's have some.
Well, I think it really depends. I can't speak of our country, but definitely in France, the National Book Center doesn't deal with political issues. There's a Direction du Livre, which deals with all of the political and will indeed reflect with other, so with the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Environment or whatever, when there's a topic that is affecting the book sector. But I think that the National Book Center has more of a role of promotion of literature and translation rather than meddling. And actually, before even you mentioned that, I think it's really important that they don't meddle into the politics. And I think it's as much as possible, and we know that in some European countries it's complicated, that they don't become political instruments of the government in place, that they are serving all of the publishers, and all of the authors and translators and everyone, whether they have the same opinion than the government or different opinion of the government. Because I'm not going to name them here, but I think most people think the same as we do. We have National Book Center in Europe, in some European countries, who are a little bit at the service of their government, less of literature, and that's dangerous.
Interesting. I think as the book industry is changing after the pandemic, because of the new digital evolutions, etc., maybe it's interesting to rethink, and this is the title, revisit, what is the role of association? Is the role of association changing? What is the role of book centers? This is the whole rationale. We don't have to agree, we can even just pose questions. We don't have to provide all the answers.
First of all, I would like to say that the national book centers are really important, especially in local markets, in local languages. They have, except from make the contact between countries and publishers, I believe the main purpose of these centers is to improve, let's say, to make the children read more, reduce TikTok and make them read. Unfortunately, not so much. Unfortunately, in Greece, we could talk for hours about the Greek National Book Center, which closed. Stop me. So it closed back in 2010 because they said that it was administration problems, and they followed the tactic: if I have a pain in the hand, I cut the hand. And since then, nothing. There were two trials, one in 2016 and one 2 months ago. 2 months ago, we think no way, but many people say that it was a pre-election firewall. The government, perhaps not the government, but the minister is going to change. It seems that the book is very, for the Greek politicians, is in a very low position in the political agenda. That's the problem in Greece. And I believe this, and we'll try to change this as associations. That's the importance also of the associations.
Associations in Greece, we have like 7 or so.
We are separated. We separate the fields. It's scientific. That's why it's a big difficult to decide, but at the end we manage.
Let's have a last round, and then maybe we can receive some questions. We have 10 minutes. Anyone would like to add something about the changing roles of association mostly? Let's start. I will start with Christina. Yeah, sorry about this.
I'm at the association for 10 years around this, and what I experienced is that we ask more and more for the input of the members. We need them more and more, and we are not a closed shop where we decide over the opinions we want to, in the statements we want to do towards the policymakers, but we have more topics, we have more societal challenges. We tackle and we discuss those topics like sustainability, climate change, accessibility, inclusion. There are more and more topics that concern society in general. And I think this changed in the last years, and we feel the need to contribute to the discussions that are taking place, because in sustainability and inclusion and so on, we play a big role and we need to fulfill it, and we need to ask the members to contribute. And another thing, what has become more and more important are figures. It's a good market research, and for example in Börsenverein we invest a lot of budget into market research. We do a lot there, and we try to contribute on the good data that FEP is consolidating. That is not an easy thing to do, but figures and facts and data is what especially policymakers want and need. So maybe my 2 cents.
Sorry about this. This is, we say that all the time, but the lack of data and figure. Just 1 minute comment.
Yes, I think you made for Greece. Yes, bigger market. That's why they can support. They can support such. Sorry, they can support. They have very big market, 7-8 times more than ours.
They do, but I'm not sure it's an adequate excuse for us. But this is a discussion for tomorrow.
Perhaps the mentality also is the culture, is the, I don't know.
Let's have a last comment, and maybe we can take up some questions.
2 comments, if I may. First of all, you say that books are very low in the agenda of the politician, and I would say it's true and false. They're very high because everyone is well aware that without books and reading, you're missing the literacy, which is so necessary, so they're very high, which is sometimes an inconvenience, because then they think that they should be given away because it's so important, and they're low because we don't provide politicians a lot of visibility. If I don't know, there's a Thessaloniki Film Festival, and there may be more politicians attending because there will be stars or people that people recognize in the street. I think it's something we don't have, and we have to complement it by other things. In terms of statistics, I think it's not so much the size of the country. Of course, very few countries can afford what the German or British colleagues can do in terms of statistics, but a basic level. In FEP, we have since many years now invested. We have hired the person who's now the deputy director, who is an economist, and it's quite rare in organization that instead of going for lawyers, that we went for an economist, and we have managed to have fairly reliable statistics, which helps in the lobbying. You want to?
Yes, right.
Nice gymnastic with the phone, microphone. I just want to add two things. First, I saw friends of mine, Bulgarian publishers, who are here, and we are in Thessaloniki book fair, a book fair organized by the Greek Cultural Foundation, Federation of Greek, Association of Greek Publishers, and all different bodies in the market. And we are here, and there is a network like Aldus, which work between the different book fairs, where all of us can meet each other and speak about literature, and speak about authors, and speak about the problems of our sector and everything like this. This is for me the only possible way to bring more and more people with the books. Because as I finish my speech as a chairman of the jury of the European Union Prize for Literature, literature will save us all. This is the way to put empathy between us, to start to understand each other more and more. We live very close together in the Balkans. It's 5 hours from Sofia, take it today, only because of the border. I hope this border soon will not be there, but anyway. And we don't know each other enough. That's the way. We can speak more and more, but we must read more and more and trying to seduce more and more people together. We are on the one side. The side today actually is 4th of May, which is the very important day. May the 4th be with you, or May the 4th be with you. It's from Star Wars. Yeah, let the literature be with us and the force of the books be with us.
Thank you, Svetlo. We have time for some questions, please, the gentleman. I'm not sure how this works.
Hi, I am Sharif Bakr. I come from Egypt, a publisher and also a member of Freedom to Publish Committee of the IPA. Well, I want to know what is the role of association, or if there is a best practice on how to influence the decision makers, because in our part of the country we don't exist. We're not important, as you said, we're not a film festival, though we have stars and they are known, but maybe they talk about culture in some speeches, but we can't force people in power to look at us or acknowledge or change a law or do something. So if there are best practices that we can learn from, how to influence decision makers, that would be very interesting. Thank you.
I don't know if it's the best practice, but what we always feel is that there's a lot of awareness building to do. Often they don't know how this works, how the value chain works, and best to do is to invite them to your publishing house, to show them that there are people working, that you are not a printer, but you are a publishing house where you have colleagues who do press work, who do editing and production, and to give faces to the work you are doing. And what we do, and it's quite, there are a lot of policymakers coming, is invite them to book fairs. Like Frankfurt Book Fair, we do tours, we explain, we show the new publications, we bring them together with authors, and yeah, of course, provide them with good arguments when there are laws coming, but I think to get a first contact and to make them interested in you, I think the personal contact and a nice offer to invite them to your publishing house, for example, is a good thing to do. And we did it also with FEP. We called it Adopt an MEP. So in the constituency of the member of the European Parliament, there are always bookshops or publishing houses. And it was quite successful. They were really happy to get to know publishing houses and the people behind, and there are connections built afterwards where they ask for advice and so on. So this is two things maybe that I can recommend. I think the first step, it's all about awareness building. Yeah.
I just give you two suggestions. In Bulgaria we have the March of Books, which starts on the 2nd of April, the International Children Books Day, till 23rd of April, the International Book Day. And every day there is readings by the politicians to read from them favorite books to the children at schools, in the public places, everywhere. It's really works actually when they stand in front of the public and present them favorite books. It's really working. And the second thing, we had a prize called the Night of the Books every year, which we gave to the politicians who support book publishing and reading and literature and things like this. And it works, really. Once it was our Prime Minister in this time, once it was the Financial Minister, and this year again it was a group of members of Parliament who actually organized voting to reduce our VAT tax. And it works, really. Yeah. Now we have 9%, which is wow.
Maybe, yes please, Mr. Kalamaras.
Thank you. It's mostly a comment, not really a question. I mean, Perseverine leads in many ways in the publishing world, but the most amazing thing is that there is 40 people employed by the association. I think, I don't think I'm wrong, that, I mean, the Greek Publishers Associations all taken together employ around 0 people. I mean, not 1, okay. Around 0, I was close.
In total 1.
Yes, exactly. So I think it's really important to have, you know, a permanent staff to do things. Of course, there are. I know it's just a point. Yeah.
I totally agree with you, and you know, it's not just publishers. Publishers, they have a different business. You need professionals who this is their job. They're not publishers, they're not government people. And this is something that in small countries like Greece we don't have. We are trying now to make an effort. I'm not sure we will be successful, but I totally agree with you.
Because I think otherwise it is all the things are done on the spare time of the publishers. And
they are professionals. They know how to do the lobbying. They know how to do it.
Another small comment, very quick, is that I know, for example, that Slovenia, even before it was to be guest of honor, had very nice statistics, leaflets. I mean, you get a very good picture, even though it is a much smaller market than Greece, but with an important tradition. And I think the book centers, for me, the number one thing is it is a commitment by the state that no matter what, there will be some kind of book policy. Otherwise, it is up to the minister or the associations and so on.
Very quick, because our host here, Mr. Georgiou, its time is over, yes? We have 2 more minutes.
Okay, very quick question. I'm from Slovak Literary Center from the Slovak Republic, and maybe it's a question for Mr. Želev. It's about how is changing the focus of activities of the national book centers. What do you think about it?
I think in the last years, after the COVID crisis and now, almost all of our colleagues across Europe are focused to restart the system. Let's say the residencies programs, pitching of the books, book fairs. You know, I'm just coming from the Leipzig book fair, which for 3 years was closed, and for them it was really terrible. But you couldn't imagine how impressive it was. It was really like, I don't know, it was absolutely great. And I'm sure that again we'll work together and again we'll restart the system. I think restart, it was one of the logos of Frankfurt Book Fair 2 years ago maybe. That's my point. We must restart and recharge all our connections and to rebuild it, because sometimes there is not. We must build new ones. That's, I think, the new thing. We understand how important is the connections between us in every level.
I'm sorry, we will have to conclude. This is the first event. It's a series of events organized by ΣΕΒΑ, one of the associations, but in close collaboration with all associations and publishers. We have 6 events like this during the year we are planning. Just the beginning. This is possible via the sponsorship by OSDEL, our collective agency of rights, and we thank them very much. We hope to see you tomorrow again. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, I'll be in Bulgarian stand if you have personal questions tomorrow.